be trusted.
Oh
60 years ago, 20 rowdy college students took
God.
their education extremely seriously because they found woman Cthulhu. She was just in a portable toilet downstairs. Also, because they were bored, they beat to death the gods to sea with some bats, but that's a story for later. It turns out.
Welcome back to the channel, you bought gremlin. Today, we're gonna be watching some more MAX0R, but Bloodborne. I've actually never seen this before. Never, not even like a little bit of gameplay. So we're going in blind. Don't know if that's the best idea with MAX0R. So, let's get into this. I am like nervous about this one, but it's gonna be fine.
The video has spoilers. Bloodborne is a Lovecraftian horror RPG that no one understands by definition, where the player is free to attack hordes of human children at will and consume their innards. If that in-depth and engaging anti-baby gameplay appeals to you, keep listening because it gets worse. In this game, you play as John Bloodborne, a foreigner incapable of speech without the use of sign language, and stricken with Asperger's disease, comes to the ancient city of London seeking treatment for the sins of his cousins. In doing so, he will begin hallucinating talking dolls, spider people, and the great journeying further, John Bloodborne becomes conscripted into the service of a gay elder god and the 60-year-old man he keeps as a pet, and is given the ultimate task of killing an invisible infant in order to cure
an invisible. Whoa! Did he just say an invisible infant? Hold on. MAX0R?
Herculean task, the player must journey through dark forests, terrifying nightmares, and the meth-ridden alleyways of a post-Brexit Britain, slaying monsters, exploring, and tricking women into being impregnated by gods so you can consume the child. This game is an excellent realization of a Metroidvania with something new around every corner, a great action RPG which pits you against insurmountable odds and extreme challenges, and has a gripping story and lore about discovering the eldritch truth. So if you can, play it yourself because I'm not going to hold back on the details. It's no secret that my reviews are entertainment first.
Yes,
so
they
I
are.
don't suggest using me as genuine advice.
But what if I want to use you as genuine advice?
However, most people can't play this game ever because you have to buy a $400 magical box sold by the wizard Sony in order to experience
I can't ever play it.
Even then, you get to see it in an amazing 30 frames per second
I
with
can't
no
play
anti-aliasing.
it.
Port this game to PC, I beg of you. In fact, I can assume that a lot of people watching this video will basically never play the game. But keep watching because I'm hilarious and original.
Yes,
Do
you
that,
are.
And
That
I
is
can give
true.
you the full, unfiltered, uncensored, unsubstantiated,
Unsensational.
and unsportsmanlike experience that is.
I'm ready! Honey, I don't know.
The gameplay
No,
is what makes
my
this game
music!
great, and the easiest way to describe it is simple but complicated. On a simple level, your baby brain is responsible for only two tasks, dodging and hitting. And dodging in this game renders you temporarily invincible. Sounds easy, right? Wrong, because every single enemy is adjusted to keep pace with you. Basic enemies are basically able to whoop your ass into fucking non-existence. Every encounter, therefore, is tense and engaging. When you kill someone, it's because you were faster and had more meth than they did. On a complicated level, you have a gun, and normally bullets hurt people, but in London, bullets are a suggestion, like the Geneva Convention. Here in England, it's all about the knife guilds. Except when you shoot somebody mid-attack, you gain the mystical and arcane ability to plunge your fist through their ribcage like Mortal Kombat and rip out their heart, which is considered rude and a slight annoyance. This extends to behind them if you charge an attack, which sometimes causes you to reach for a pig's asshole and rip out the prostate like fruit by the foot. Side note, the most
you know what? I mean,
in this game is called Murgo's Pig Fisting Route. See, I changed the webpage, and in this route, you sneak up behind this guy and do him the dirt. Then entice these two swindler bastards to be mauled to death by members of Organization 13. Repeat 50 times. On a complicateder level, every single weapon in the game has 2 different modes with 2 different movesets, and transforming between them gives you special attacks, in addition to running attacks, plunging attacks, R1 attacks, on a theoretical physicist level, your character memorizes squiggly lines and fridge art created by gods for passive bonuses that work regardless of weaponry. My favorites are more money, and more money. Finally, on a meta-theoretical chiropractic level, every weapon is customizable with different gem slots that give differing effects for your attacks. And there are different types that can literally change all of the stats of the weapon, like making a fucking spear do more damage based off of intelligence. There's definitely more and a lot of strategy in how you level up your character, but I assume that you know how to level up in a fucking video game. But with all this combat prowess, you may be wondering, MAX0R, who are these crusty abominations that you're fighting on screen? Well,
tell us.
To learn that much, we're going to have to delve into the lore.
Yeah!
Your britches, bitches, because this
What
shit
britches?
is wild.
I'm in
If I
undies.
say something questionable, just accept it as fact. I can be trusted. 60
Oh my-
years ago, 20 rowdy college
Oh my
students took
God.
their education extremely seriously because they found woman Cthulhu. She was just in a portable toilet downstairs. Also, because they were bored, they beat to death a god of the sea with some bats, but that's a story for later. It turns out the entire world is ruled and created by a race of elder gods beyond human comprehension called the Great Ones. Figuring this out, they got Cthulhu's blood and were like, we can make a religion out of this.
Oh
because
my-
it turns out
alright.
blood can heal people, which is really good due to all the knife crime. So
Yeah.
everyone starts drinking it a little too much and they get the money to build 36 cathedrals. But
Oh
it
my
turns
God.
out eventually
Alright.
the blood turns you into a werewolf. So the church hires a guy named German to go fight the beasts with an organization known as the Hunters, but there's too many beasts, so he gives up. Now the knife crime has increased even more, and German sort of goes insane and creates a life-size doll of one of his students who is an 8-foot-tall Amazonian. He also canonically has sex with it. The moon god, for some reason, kind of takes...
You had sex with what?
Notice this and it's like, alright,
Fair.
listen, I'm building a suicide squad. I will
Okay.
bring your waifu to Waifu if you serve me for all time as my slave.
Waifu.
German reasonably thinks that this is a great deal and
It
is
is a great
imprisoned in
deal.
a dream. This is where you come in. See, the moon god assassinates baby gods for fun, but needs a hitman to go into the real world to do it since he's confined to the 9th dimension. So in addition to fighting all manner of giant beasts and uncovering dark secrets, the true aim of this game is to commit infanticide. There's enough bullshit here to fill tax legislation. So comment your own poorly summarized Bloodborne lore below. And for the rest of us non-shills, we have ample time to explain more of what makes this game
Oh my God. Prepare to die, I'm ready.
Japed. I am talking about bosses before I talk about the levels. In most video games, bosses cap off areas, but in Bloodborne, areas are preambles to a dick flattening, and nothing will challenge your skill in quite the same way. Except for the goddamn Witches of Hemwick, who were placed into the game for disability access. You can probably tell that Bloodborne is a hard game. We don't even know if a games journalist can beat it. But it's hard in a fair way that tests your skills and reaction time. Except for Lawrence, but I'll get back to Lawrence later. What sets this game's bosses apart is that the challenge makes it feel like you're a really small dude jabbing a toothpick into a building-sized beer demon. So yeah, I would be impressed if he killed that. But not only that, unlike Dark Souls, every single boss reacts meaningfully to how you attack them. Large beasts can have their bones cracked and their tendons wound into a slinky. Bone boys can be knocked over and have their marrow sicked. And human enemies will wince and recoil when they see your height difference. As well, every boss punishes you for cowardice and actively discourages backpedaling with their forward momentum, causing every fight to be an elaborate dance with a thrilling
There's so
back and
much
forth.
going
Unless you're
on.
fighting Braum, who is the really hungry caterpillar.
He's
He had
so
a legion of
cute.
arachnid slaves who threw their heads underground like ostriches. We don't talk about him. And while we're on the subject of bad bosses, this motherfucker, let me tell you something.
Why
The
is his head
humanoid
in a
bosses in
cage?
this game are paradoxically the most dangerous. But
Why?
Mikolash is a psychological hazard that will hurt you personally. This boss literally feels like cut content because the fight centers around chasing him, and his direction depends on RNG, making him an actual speedrun killer. When you corner him, he uses one attack. And then you chase him again, where he gains the power to insta-kill you. God forbid you're hit by it, because that's 10 minutes gone. Here's the tip. Save up 10 poison knives and steal from your family if you must. Then wait until he jumps down this hole, poison him repeatedly, and watch him spaz the fuck out until death. You will thank me. But as a result of everyone who isn't Miko shit, conquering a boss in this game is absolutely rewarding on a level that other games cannot match. It's only because the odds are stacked against you in ways that don't feel bullshit most of the time that conquering them is the main reason I play. And their fights are undoubtedly the best I've ever done in video games. But that isn't most of the time in the game. In fact, a lot of your time is spent exploring the areas, so let's get into that. Lesson 1 in area design. Where the fuck am I going? Exploration is the name of the game, except it's called
not
Bloodborne.
direct.
Only this time, you don't bring smallpox into 20 million people. We're looking at a solid 10 this time, because the main enemies in this game are British townspeople. It's how the developers made sure you didn't feel bad about The plague of beasts infecting London causes people's teeth to become beast-like, makes you aggressive at night, and slurs your speech.
What?
Up to you to stop them, as a hunter should. If you don't look up where to go next in this game, good fucking luck. People get lost all the time.
Listen, I'm very directionally challenged. Everyone who watches me knows this. I can't find my way out of a paper bag. So, like, is there a tutorial?
This game doesn't do exploration like, oh look, there's loot in this hallway.
There's always loot. Oh my god, that's
baby shit. This is Daddy's exploration.
Daddy?
Where you find a route back to a place you were in 10 hours ago. And I hope you weren't expecting a mini-map or any map. Every single hallway is a rabbit hole of discovery and your hand isn't held. Case in point, Cathedral Ward is a level but feels like a hub area because it connects to fucking everything. And where you start the game is in the middle of a loop-de-loop involving torturous experimentation. Just look at the fucking map of this game. Everything overlaps. And yes, there is a level called Nightmare Lecture Hall,
Oh
and no,
my
it does
God.
not connect to the Altar of Despair, although you would think that.
Yeah,
Fittingly,
wouldn't
the Lecture
it?
Hall is the smallest area, and more fittingly, 90% of the combat is graduates throwing
Oh
cum
my-
at you. The game
oh,
also
cum?
has two
Oh,
completely
oh,
secret areas
dang,
that
alright.
you would not find without the internet. I would tell you how to
Oh.
enter, but I don't want to do calculus. And
I
what you get at the end, Upper Cathedral Ward is legitimately a horror area
Oh
in a
my
game
God.
loved for its combat, because it's filled with enemies who act out my greatest fears. Stealing
What?
currency permanently gives me fucking chills every time I talk about it. Castle
Oh my
Canehurst is
God.
proof that From Software hates us all, since the best area in the entire game requires you to go to the Field of Corn in Ohio and trek down Waldo. But it's worth it to invade the house of that parasitic queen
Oh!
dwelling in her demented castle so that
No!
she may feel
Oh
the
God,
wrath
no!
of the proletariat. All we
How
have
old is
to do
this?
is kill Prince Philip, who guards
Oh.
the way as an eternal lich. On top of this, there are numerous NPCs and NPC
Oh.
quest lines spread throughout the world, all with a series of interactions with each other
Side
depending on
quests.
location and timing. For instance, you could direct nuns, prostitutes, and
Oh.
Prince Philip to a church run by a lonely black sludge,
Oh
then perform
my
enough
God.
blood transfusions to send the nun into a yandere rage. Or you
What?
could direct them to the nice woman who runs the clinic down the street, who only wants to help and assist others.
Oh,
Then take
I got a bad
strange
feeling
path
about
through
that
the
one,
forest
too.
and into her
That
clinic
one
to
seems
discover that
bad.
she has been experimenting on all
What?
of them in order to create the Blue Man group.
Oh.
And if you want, you can take the umbilical cord away from her
Damn.
schizophrenic
What?
ass and eat it. The sky's the limit
Oh
in
my
Bloodborne
God.
questlines. And you know what my
Oh,
favorite
oh,
questline
oh.
is? The one where you descend into literal hell, complete with
What?
eternal punishment, insanity, and femboy fishing.
Femboy
the scariest
fish-
of them all. I'm of course talking about the DLC.
The
The
DLC?
only DLC
Oh my-
for this
what?
game. And if you play through Bloodborne, you have to play through the DLC. I'm not giving you a fucking choice. So to learn why, you should play
What?
the best expansion ever made since Spore Galactic Adventures.
Oh.
Come with me on this amazing journey to find the secrets of the Bloodborne, the old hunters.
What? Oh.
I want you to imagine hell. Now imagine hell.
Oh my
written by
UK.
H.P.
Oh my
Lovecraft.
God,
It will be
wait.
filled with squids, immigrants, and air
Oh my-
conditioning.
no,
This DLC has
no.
none of that except the squids. For you see,
Squids.
those college kids from the lore section of the video
Oh,
were built
no.
fucking different. They
Oh,
experimented
damn.
on an entire village and possibly beat up
Oh
a
my
god of
God.
the sea so fucking bad that her consciousness in the 9th dimension
Oh.
died. We spent an entire game killing an infant, and these guys somehow killed the MILF god. But
The MILF.
anyways, in the process of this, it cursed them and all of the
Oh
hunters
my
to be
God.
doomed to a hell upon death,
Oh,
where they will
no.
hunt in a bloodthirsty rage without
Jesus,
rest for all
man.
eternity, indistinguishable from a political subreddit. Case in point, this is Ludwig. He's the first boss
Oh
of the
my
DLC
God.
and has a reputation for causing refunds. Not because he's bad, but because he's too good for you. The first phase is as difficult for me as realizing that Golden
Oh,
Corral is
go-
not actually a real corral. But
What do
like
you-
every
oh,
restaurant
right, it's
except
not,
Golden
it's a food.
Corral, the rewards at the end are delicious because his second phase is
Oh.
even harder. Now, I'm not
What?
going to lie, this DLC has 4 bosses.
It looks
and 3
amazing,
of the hardest
though.
bosses I have ever fought in any video game
Jesus.
ever. So your ass will be clenched the entire time.
Oh,
The fact
God,
that
not
he's
the ass
third
clenching.
hardest is fucking concerning. Some people tell me, MAX0R, your videos have gotten me through tough times because they made me laugh. But
They
like
do.
this boss, you are the one who is truly
Oh.
overcoming these challenges, and I
That
believe
is
in your
not-
ability
you're doing
to
it
beat
for
both
me.
of them.
I will
In
never play
Boss
this.
Lightning Round. The
Boss
DLC has many
oh.
such cases of amazing bosses, including Lady Maria, who is the basis for
Oh.
German's extremely creepy
Nice.
8-foot-tall
Oh.
doll fetish, but we'll get back to
The
that.
8-foot
and
doll
Orphan of
fe- what?
Cause, who was born from the literal dead
Oh.
body of a god. If
I
you enjoy
thought
the
we beat the
sensation
shit out of
being
that.
beaten to
What
death with a
happened?
sharpened placenta, this is the fight for you. And
Oh
as
my
with everything
God.
that From Software makes, they threw in a boss that they didn't really finish and
Oh
called it a
my
day. I'm of
God.
course talking about Lawrence, which is a very
Lawrence?
mundane name for a fire monster locked
Yeah.
in hell. Take my advice, don't fight Lawrence. You only
Don't
lose
fight
a part
Lawrence.
of yourself, since this boss fights you by dropping off his own legs and then
Oh my
violently
God,
vomiting
what?
and shitting lava everywhere. I've always wanted my game
Dude.
about dynamic dodging and elaborate fencing to be reduced
What
to shitty
the
area
fuck?
denial like it's Team Fortress 2. To wrap things up,
This
the
is so
music of this
messed
game is
up.
pretty good, but the DLC music is fucking insane. I don't
I
know what
mean,
it
it
is about
sounds
Japanese
good.
composers being able to make better symphonies than the continent that invented them, but just take a listen.
Oh my.
Holy shit,
That's so
Have you
good.
ever thought, as I do, that this game is just too good? That you would really
Yeah.
rather be playing a shittier version of the game, such as the engagement of the Chalice Dungeons. I, of course, jest. They're fine, probably,
Oh.
except for half of them, because Bloodborne has an optional system of infinite dungeon generation. for all
Infinite
of those
dungeon?
who wish to break free of the shackles of
Oh.
good level design. Let's talk about how, and more importantly, why. First of all, Bloodborne has a system of dungeons that everyone shares and dungeons that are random. For my footage, I played the shared dungeons so that you can be guaranteed the pain you witness on screen is mandatory. One of the biggest strengths of Bloodborne is the ability to have interesting and challenging enemy encounters gently rubbed with the blood-stained hands of Miyazaki. But I don't think I have to explain to you how randomizing almost every encounter in the game could be imbalanced. But fortunately, most enemies you encounter in the Chalice dungeons are new to spare British people your wrath. So you instead fight SCP-96. But why are you here? It turns out that the entire city of London was built on a Celtic burial ground, an ancient civilization called the Tumerians, who discovered the healing powers of blood and then mysteriously disappeared. Wow, I wonder what happened. This is all cool in theory, but the reality is that most of the time you fight the same 4 enemies, and the first 3 dungeons can be replaced by Simon Says. My cat literally wouldn't notice. The Chalice dungeons are so forgotten that the developers use them to put joke enemies into the game. My favorite is the man who aggressively rolls
Oh my god, Bing Bang!
His
He's so good!
This also extends to the bosses, and they're actually pretty cool, like Tumerian Descendant, Watchdog, and the 3 overweight men. Do you remember that basic enemy from like 2 levels? He is the boss now. He is the boss again. The only thing stopping me from throwing myself into a wood chipper is the fact that Mikolash isn't back. And if you're going to have replays, you probably want to make sure that they're actually good. In fact, the bosses are so fucking imbalanced that the Watchdog fight is primarily comprised of instant kill attacks. I beat Sekiro backwards on a keyboard, and this shit is too fucking much. Now, normally that would be all,
How hard
but
is this game?
Go deeper. What we've discussed so far is merely the surface, and there is a much darker syndicate lying just below. These places you must never venture, for they are the save edit dungeons, whereby through wizardry, the community are able to conjure up deep, dark chasms and share them with the rest of the world. Of these secrets, there are only 2 that I shall reveal to you, and the first is the Cum Dungeon.
The Cum Dungeon! Oh my god, they're throwing cum everywhere.
The Cum Dungeon is the name of the most optimal farming route ever conceived by the fucking cricket people who do this shit. The player enters the chasm of place name and watches as a high-level boss yeets itself off a cliff. Murgo's pig fisting route can give you 10,000 echoes. This gives 83,000. And if you thought that sorcery was bad, it gets much worse. You can insert anything from the game files by save editing.
So by fisting a pig and getting cummed on, you basically level infinity. Dungeon.
Anything. This includes cut and unfinished content from the game that the developers forgot to delete. Like this doggo who attacks you with invisible lightning. Overall, the Chalice dungeons are bad. They're not actually very fun to play, and yet I love them. Everyone loves them because they allow us to further explore a long-dead game with the help of a passionate community. Now, before we sign off, I know what you're thinking. MAX0R, what about the multiplayer? That I would love to talk about with all the footage I have, but it's dead. If this game releases on PC, and it better, then I will talk about the multiplayer extensively. And finally, this game and this video would not be complete if I didn't talk about the Hunter's Dream. After all the combat, the battles, and the difficulty of this game, it's nice to have a place to recharge, purchase items, upgrade weapons, and watch as it violently burns to the ground. This is where you'll find German slowly wasting away as his soul remains captive for an eternity. And his doll waifu that he sold his existence to be with. She talks to you, levels you up, offers you advice, and German says you're allowed to have sex with her. When I felt defeated, she was there to pick me up. When I emoted at her randomly, she pretended to be impressed. And she was there, graciously standing in the background of this one shot that I took of myself. She is our waifu now, and the game is perfect and complete because she is in it. Now excuse me as I engage in the supplementary lore material. Should you get the game? Yes, absolutely. I am biased. In fact, you should physically enter Sony's headquarters and demand that it be ported to PC. I will be right there with you. Tasers will not stop me. I would like to thank the corrupt hackers and politicians funneling money into this channel directly from the taxpayer. If you would like to contribute your funds accrued through extensive federal government corruption, you can head to my Patreon to learn more. I would also like to thank the kind denizens of the Mythbusters Smut Discord who sent me half the memes in this video.
Oh my god, I wondered where he got all the memes. Well, MAX0R, thank you for making this freaking video. Oh my god, that was crazy. That was crazy. What the heck? But anyways, thank you guys for watching with me. I really, really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe what you'd like to see next, especially if it's more MAX0R videos. Let me know which one I should check out next. And anyways, I will see you guys in the next one.